Yes. So a little bit about me. I'm a spiritualist, which means that I take whatever makes sense in any religious sect and try to find a link to it. By finding links, if it's reasonable and it's sound, if it's based on facts and logic, then I apply it to my life as part of my spirituality. So basically, a spiritualist is someone that perceives spirituality in totality. It's not about being in one particular sect because they can perceive links within all religious sects. So that's basically me. I look at what makes sense. I read all type of books and try to perceive and apply it to spirituality in totality, which is my way of life. So I do pray to a universal creator, which I do not address as she or a he. But if I was to choose a gender, it would be a she, because they create life, they bring forth life. A man can't do that. But I digress. I'm just saying a little bit about myself, and along the way, you'll probably get to know more of my notions, concepts, and way of life. But let's begin. The first thing to remember is that Paleo Hebrew is the first Hebrew that's in existence. Some people say that this was the very first language, and others say no, it's just the language. This Hebrew was just before the modern day Hebrew that's being used today. So yes, the what for whatever reason, for whatever happened, another Hebrew was constructed, and that is the one that's being used today. Nevertheless, many people can say, or it is easy to say, that the modern day Hebrew script was derived from this Paleo Hebrew script, which is the first, right? So it's important to know that you can see that the symbols are slightly are different. No, not slightly. They're different from the modern day Hebrews, and they're less. But nevertheless, the modern day Hebrew is the one being used, which is right underneath it, like this. So this is the modern day Hebrew script that's being used, and it is from this symbology, also known as alphabet, that we shall derive or use the word Yahweh, or construct the word Yahweh from. So the word Yahweh is made up of of these symbols, which are Yod, this one, the letter Y, hair. This hair is normally it's sometimes, sorry, not normally, sometimes spelt with a letter H at the end instead of the letter I, which represents the H in Yahweh. This valve represents the letter V, but it is interchangeable with the symbol, also known as letter W, right? As in Hebrew, it is spelled as wow, right? This wow is interchangeable with valve, meaning basically it just means you have people choose between the two. Some people use wow, some people use valve, right? Historians have said that wow was the first word or terminology being used before valve came along. So many people would prefer going with wow instead of valve, although it's commonly depicted or displayed in commonly displayed more than wow. Valve is commonly more displayed than wow in the modern day Hebrew alphabet, right? So on this trip or journey of thought, my major focus will be on wow, right? And many people say this wow was first, right? And if you go back to the Paleo Hebrew alphabet, the first Hebrew script, right? You can see wow there, WAW, right? You can even see Yod there. Let's just show this. Like you can even see wow there. So let's show this. I type this here. Let's do this for simplification, because simplifying things makes things easier. See? Boom. Which represents this. Wow, before this came along, this was being used. And we can even see Yod there. Boom. So you can, it is easy to perceive that, the modern day Hebrew scripts was derived from the Paleo Hebrew scripts, which is the first Hebrew scripts, right? So yeah. So from this, let's construct the word Yahweh. Let's construct it. Boom. Gonna So the first symbol or letter in Yahweh is the Yod. No, hold on. Before we even go into that, there's this video by this man who confirms that the word or term wow was used before valve, right?
Oh, I was hoping that I could maybe help you guys out with this a little bit. So the Vav used to be called Wow before the creation of the modern state of Israel, right? With modern Hebrew becoming more and more popular, where we call it Vav as in a V. So what has happened is some people they'll study modern Hebrew first, and then they'll come and study the Tanakh, the biblical Hebrew, Tanachit, and they wanna learn, right? Usually, this is really an issue with those who are trying to say the sacred name, which we advise against pronouncing anyway. My advice is to make his name holy, which means you don't treat it like other names, which means we don't say it, right? Like a human name, or at least we limit the amount that we say it. That would be a goal, I think. But that's a whole nother topic, and I have a whole nother teaching on that. But there's a couple of people out there claiming that his name has a V sound in it, right? So kind of like the Jehovah's Witnesses, right? They've got the Va in there. Now you should understand that in biblical Hebrew, in those times, the Vav was indeed a W sound, a W, when it was a consonant, and it was also what we call what we call a vowel letter, right? So
So yeah, and that's an interesting talk right there. Just to confirm what I was saying here. So there's no hearsay over here. Other people, historians, teachers, and religious members are all basically saying the same thing, right? Okay, let's construct the word or symbol or letter Yahweh because it's important in order to show the links, right? So the first word was Yod. So many came out. Let's use this one. Let's hope background doesn't come with the image. Moment of truth. Boom. Yes, we'll take that. Okay, Hebrew is read from right to left. So that means this yod will be, will start from the right, right? Let's label this. Boom. Face it up. Boom. Now this yod, which looks like this symbol, represents the letter Y. So let's put the Y in bracket. So the next is hair. Remember the one that ends with the I? This one here. That's the next symbol or letter that is used in Yahweh, right? So let's look for that. Back here, boom, here. I'm spelling it with a H instead of a Y. Y. Let's see if it recognizes. Boom. Yes, it does. Let's use this one. Boom. Whoa, whoa, what happened? Let's fix that. Okay. Hebrews read from right to left. So this goes to the right with it. Right there. Let's label this. Show what it is. It's the line dash right. Boom. Yeah. Right. The next on the list is the wow, right? Right? I'm using wow, not valve. But remember the same symbol letter. Let's put it down first, actually. So let's wow is what I'm using. Does it recognize it? Boom! Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We should use. No, might come with a background. Don't want to risk it. So let's use this one. Nice. Okay, let's go back to this. Let's put it down. Okay. Yes. Yes. So yeah, like I was saying, this symbol, aka letter, represents both wow and vowel, right? But I'm just going to call it wow. That is my focus. But just remember, you can choose between the two. Have Yahweh pronounced as Yahweh as well, right? Okay, let's do this. Yeah. Boom. Whoa, hold on 1 second. Okay. And then the final word is hair as well. So I already have that, so I just copy and paste it. Yeah, to the right. Hebrew read from right to left. So to the right it goes. Then I could just copy and paste this as well. Line it. Since that's the consistency I've been doing. Yep. So this right here, wind up, wind ourselves. Right. So yeah. So now we constructed it by taking it from the alphabet basically, the entire thing. We've just made it a focus. So this is how you spell Yahweh. And yeah, the letters in brackets, we can make it in bold just to emphasize on the words, right? Yahweh. Side note, these two words, yod and he, which which when pronounced gives the word Yah, right? Yah. It's just these two symbols that represents Yah. That's interesting because many people call the universal creator Yah and Jah. So that will come later on because if you turn this upside down, you get a letter J. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. It's just side note. But yeah, you get Yahweh, and this is where the interesting part really starts because this, when you tilt this vertically, not this one, when you tilt this entire thing vertically, going anti-clockwise, meaning going this way, you get, let's bring it, you get an image, an image, so, which can be perceived as the image of Yahweh, right? Let's just show you that. So here's the Yod, which represents the head of the image, right? Here's the first He, which represents the arms of the image, right? Here's the Wow, also also represents valve, right? Which represents the core of the image, right? And here's the other He, which represents the legs of the image. You just all you did was tilt this vertically, anti-clockwise, and then you got this image. And then so you can say this image is Yahweh if you use the wow, the W, or Yahweh if you use the valve, the V, right? So this image is derived from this, which is interesting. And then it is said that we are made in the image and likeness of Yahweh, right? So therefore, this image can be perceived as the image of every woman and man. This image represents the image and likeness of you and me and Yahweh, the universal creator, right? And so, yeah, I'm gonna leave it there just to continue in episode 2 because we'll break this step by step and then just not over, what's the word I'm looking for? Just don't overcrowd with information, not overcrowd. That's what dealing with people, not overload. There you go. Not overload people with information. We'll take it step by step. Thank you.